Greetings. So I am now on day number 72 of semen retention and my first real streak ever since I was a young child and didn't do it at all. And today I wanted to make a video about certain addictions. There are tons of different addictions out there. There's gambling, there's nicotine, there's drugs and alcohol, and I look at all those and I think those are little addictions that are just symptoms of a bigger problem, symptoms of bigger addictions, symptoms of childhood trauma and wounds that are unhealed. But I really wanted to touch on one today, and of course we have PMO and lust and promiscuous sex, and again, I think those are other addictions too that really can't be fully conquered until you find those old traumas and heal from them. Until then, you're just you're winging it by willpower, and I don't claim to have any willpower. My power comes from Jesus Christ, and that's what I'm going to stand on. But one addiction I really wanted to talk about today was social media. And social media is one of those very, very subtle addictions that have a lot of different messages, and they carry a lot of different subtle things that people would go to social media for. In 2008 is when I discovered Facebook, and a lot of coworkers at work were asking me if I was on there, and hey, yeah, we should go on Facebook and and see what's going on, I guess. But I got to doing a little bit of research on it, and it was like, hey, yeah, connect with your old friends in high school. And I thought, hey, that would be actually pretty cool. I'd kind of like to know what some of those old friends were up to. And well, in the end, I can't count it how many of those old friends on two hands that I actually really reconnected with, and that I still stay in touch with to this day. But back in 2008, Facebook was kind of still in its own infancy. It was, you went on there and you got to see what your friends were up to. A new puppy that they got, or a meal that they ate, or just, people just kind of narrating their lives openly on the open web. And at first I thought that was kind of silly, but then I found myself kind of joining in on that action. And but then over time, ads came along and news infiltrated, and we're talking about propagated news infiltrating Facebook. And then before you know it, it was one of my main objectives to come home from work and spend time on Facebook, because, well, I have to stay informed of things. I want to see what my friends are up to, and I should post some things too to kind of show what I'm up to. And it just kind of spiraled into this like a burrowing, well, we'll just call it like a burrowing tick. Once it gets in and it gets a hold of you, you're finished. You end up with Lyme's disease, or you end up with spotted Rocky Mountain fever, or whatever. So the next thing I was addicted, because I was creating, as ads came in, and as my corn addiction grew, things that I would look for on my internet browser, and of course news that I followed, it all created an algorithm for me. And we're talking algorithms of psyop rage bait. We'll talk about that one first. And and those things kind of point to politics, and of course I had my views, and a lot of them didn't really line up with this party or that. So I kind of got angry, and I would comment on it. And the next thing I found myself into is I would comment on something, or even comment on somebody else's comment, and the next thing you know, and it seems awfully silly to say, I found myself arguing with people I didn't even know. Total strangers. I didn't even know what their location was. I knew nothing about them. All I know is we didn't agree, and both of us just had to be right. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I became extremely addicted to that. So yeah, psyop rage bait really got out of hand, and so the next thing you know, what social media does is it helps you form your own opinion. Well, it helps you come up with form opinions that belong to somebody else. And then the next thing you know, those become your opinions. And you find yourself getting angry or happy or whatever emotion or confusion or whatever emotion that you may have about it. But in the end, that's what social media does. The creators of these social media platforms, be it Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it these days, they are designed to keep you on there. And the more you get angry or the more you get elated, and then there's little subtle things like puppies and kittens. We all love puppies and kittens. We all have pets, right? And you find yourself looking at loops over and over and over again for hours on end of puppies and kittens. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I found that it was robbing me of my time. It was robbing me of my energy. It robs you of your own creativity and your own original thought, because these social media outlets curate your opinions and beliefs for you. It's like you can't do your own thinking. You can't formulate your own opinion. And it does something to your attention span. It's like, can you watch a video for any more than 2 minutes before you're moving on to the next one? I wrote down a bunch of things here, and this all comes from my own observations. Again, how much time are you spending on this? And then after I started semen retention, I got to really looking at this. That I would spend anywhere between 2 and 3 hours, sometimes as many as 4 hours a day of my waking moments, from the time I woke up until the time I went to bed, on social media. Most of the time it was either in the morning. Now the mornings are really critical for you. If you don't get up and get moving and start working on your own goals, and you just go on Facebook or Instagram, you're robbing yourself of that time. And then when you get home from work, oh man, I'm just tired, some social media, I'm going to scroll on this, I'm going to scroll on that, and then there's going to be PMO, and then I'm going to go to bed. Sometimes as much as 2 or 3 hours. And then the next thing you know, I'm neglecting, work around the house. I was supposed to wash that load of dishes that's in the sink that's been sitting there for the last couple of days. I was supposed to clean the bathroom. I was supposed to, do something with my vehicles. I was supposed to change the oil. I was supposed to do this, and I was supposed to do that. And then the next thing you know, your time is being robbed of those things. What if and plus two, opportunities. How many opportunities have we missed from looking at social media all day? We think about, job opportunities, meeting people that would be beneficial to our lives. And sure, I've met some people that I did not previously, in person, that I did not previously know. in real life on Facebook, and that I've met them in person, and a couple of them are all right, but anymore I don't even talk to those people. I talk to one person, and that's because we went in on a piece of land where we're all going to use this piece of land for farming, and it's and that to me is going to be productive. That's my future. I see that we're heading into a possible dystopian future, and I want to be completely off the grid and dependent of myself and growing clean food where I have food security and I don't have to worry about those things. You'd be surprised at what a man can live on. And I believe that many of us are going to have to go back about 200 years to find it. But yeah, what's another thing? But yeah, arguing with total strangers creates political division. And here's another thing that, and this is what PMO does as well. It destroys your sleep patterns. It destroys your nervous system. Because when you're scrolling through Facebook or any other social media, you're just scrolling and you get a piece of information here, you get a piece of information there, you get this little tidbit, and some of it may be useful to what you're doing in your life at the time, and some of it's irrelevant, and then you come along and then you see the reels, and then you see this 19-year-old little girl bouncing around in her bikini, and you click on that and she has an OnlyFans link. So that takes you down a rabbit hole. Let's see, what else? You're easily manipulated. Again, this is psyop rage bait. Let's see what else. You have, and if you do find some stuff on social media that are useful, you get this false sense of productivity. But if your mind is completely distracted and your mind is fragmented all the time, you might get these great ideas. You may see these job opportunities. You may see other things that you could do that would make your life better. But once you turn it off, your mind is so frazzled, you forget all about it. In the end, this and here's a modern day term, brain rot, and I find that to be true. And what else are we doing when we're on social media? The longer we're on social media, the more we click on this, the more we click on that, the more we scroll. That just keeps the machine rolling. And guess what? In the end, you're building someone else's empire. They're on the golf courses. They're out on their yachts. They're out enjoying life. But that life for them wouldn't be possible if you weren't sitting there scrolling, mindlessly, mind-numbing scrolling. Let's see what else. Oh, yeah. You have no more privacy. If you're on social media all the time, your privacy is finished. The ads that you click on, like one time, here's an example. One time I was looking for car insurance. I got this new car and I wanted to, put new insurance on it. And I found this thing, and it wasn't from the big, insurance companies like Progressive or Geico or any of that. It was just, hey, get this, look at this and get your quotes, and they'll be lower than all the others. No, it just leads you to all the others. That's all it does. And then the next thing, you put in your information. Of course, these social media giants, they sell your information to corporations. And the next thing you know, my phone is absolutely blowing up from this insurance company and that insurance company, and they're leaving messages, and it's just, my phone will just not shut up. Of course, you're being robbed of your time, so you aren't able to really develop any real new skills or hobby. Your hobbies are neglected. And then over time, you find yourself, just really hooked into it. You are, your ability to sit with yourself in prayer and meditation and quiet and solitude is gone. I slowly began to notice that I would be sitting on the couch in some down time, and it wouldn't be within seconds I'd have my phone in my hand, scrolling some more. But yeah, it's really you lose yourself completely into it, and that becomes your identity. It completely, if you're not careful, it will completely steal your identity. One of these things that I noticed, and it wasn't that long ago, and this is after about a week or two of starting semen retention, and in that first couple of weeks, it's like, well, I'm not doing that with my 10 minute, I'm not, PMO isn't a part of my routine anymore, so what am I going to do? I started scrolling more on social media for those first couple of weeks of semen retention. And then I saw something that really hit home one day, and this really hit home for me. So I don't remember what I was going out to do. I can't remember. I might have been running some errands. I might have been doing something. I don't know, but I live about a couple of blocks away from the old courthouse here in town, right off the square. And so I get in my truck and I start driving, and I have to go, the direction wherever I gotta go by the square to get to it. Well, as I'm driving by the old courthouse, and it was a Saturday afternoon, they don't hold court services there. But I'm driving by there and I see this group of late teens, early 20-ish, 20-somethings. It was about half male, half female, and I'd say they were either high school or went to college here in town. And there was about 6 or 7 of them. And I don't know why I'm looking, but neither one of them were saying anything to each other. They weren't talking to each other. They weren't looking at each other in the eyes. Each one of them looking at their phones. And I'm thinking, wow, these people can't even get together and socialize without being distracted by their own social media and their phones. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And then but I myself, I became really introverted over time, and I thought that social media was my social life. Imagine that. But I saw that and I was like, wow, is this what human connection is these days? Is it really that insidious? Has it really taken us away from real, true connection and bonding with friends, with loved ones, with families? I've gone into restaurants and sat down and ate a meal, and I'd see a couple at a table, and neither one of them there's no eye contact, they're not even talking, they're both in their phones, scrolling. And I started to see that, you start to see these little glitches in the matrix when you start semen retention. And that was one of them. So in the end, folks, I don't want to go too long with these videos. Sometimes I think if they go more than 30 minutes, they lose attention and I lose views. But I just wanted to close it up with this. In my first couple of weeks of semen retention, I wanted to fill that gap that I would typically indulge in PMO and with something else, and I hit the social media a lot harder. And then once I started to see those glitches in the matrix, and seeing that group of kids standing around in a circle in front of the old courthouse, I go to walk at the park sometimes, at a big, huge local park, and there's this trail that goes around a lake, and people are walking along, and I'm not kidding. Almost half of them will be walking along, they got their phones in their hands. And then I'd pass them that way, and then I go around the lake, and they go around the lake the other way, and I pass them again, and here they are again. with their phones in their hands. Cause like, can't you be out and enjoy nature? It's insane how much social media has hijacked. And you know what? That's where the powers that be want us. They want us hijacked. They want us distracted. They want us weak. They want our minds to be fragmented. They want our attention spans to be low and short. Hey, if that doesn't excite me anymore, well, I'm gonna scroll on to the next thing. And when your time and your energy and your mind and your focus and your creativity and all that is being robbed of you, then you're nothing. Then you have nothing. The more you do it, the more you allow it to penetrate your life. And yes, it does, like I said, it does have everything to do with PMO, because it's just as insidious. Yeah, the blowing your nut all the time, that's going to drain your energy, but so does social media. And within the social media, if you're looking at corn on your desktop, guess what? You're going to find hookup ads, you're going to find OnlyFans ads, you're going to find all this other crap on social media. And that just, like, I'd be, scrolling along Facebook. I'm just gonna go ahead and call it Fakebook. It is what it is. I'd be scrolling along Fakebook, and then come along with and come along a pixel of a half-naked woman, and that's just stimulating the mind to end the night with PMO, or in the middle of the day. It didn't matter what time it was. So, yeah, after about 2 weeks of semen retention, I made the decision. It's like, you know what? This is robbing me of my time. This is robbing me of me. I have really no social life anymore. I have no real meaningful connections. And that's what I want. If I ever do end up finding a good woman, I want her to be a good, virtuous woman, and I want to have a real, true bonding connection with her. Not where we're just sitting there, scrolling our phones all day. And to think that I've wasted so much time on that, as well as PMO and lust and all that, how much of my life has been robbed of me? How much of my life has been taken away from me? How much of your life is being taken away from you? So yeah, after about 2 weeks of semen retention, I said, that's it. This has got to go too. And right about that time, I ran out of weed too. So it was like, I was really starting to purge myself of things that did not serve me in a positive way. So I did. I was going to deactivate my Facebook account, and I had an Instagram account too, and I have an X account, but Facebook was my main one, and I hardly ever looked at the other ones. And I even had an OnlyFans account. I wanted to go look at the beautiful women, and they all wanted donations. And it's amazing how some of these 19, 20-year-old girls, they go on there and they put a spread of photos and videos on there, and they might sell someone. I never did buy their panties, by the way, but they sell their little articles of clothing to people. They can just for one little spread of photos and videos, it's like they could pay on their mortgage and pay their bills for the next 6 months just from that. It's insane how it works. And yeah, kind of in the end, it makes me angry. It makes me angry at myself. It makes me angry at the idea. And it makes me angry that the powers that be just want us to be weak and fragmented. But anyway, sometimes I need to introduce myself again. I'm Jason. This is my Chill House channel. I'll be making another video soon. Until then, peace.